welcome to Work It, Live It, Own It TV. This is the place to be if you are trying to transition from your full-time job into a business for yourself, and you might just hear an interview that might strike up your fancy. So today I'm actually interviewing Michelle Arnold. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, SaCola.
You're absolutely welcome, and thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Let's talk about Michelle for a little bit. She is known to the world as a content creation strategist for spiritual-based or creative entrepreneurs. She empowers her clients to tap into their creative channel and to operate their business from a place of authenticity, which is so important today. Now, Michelle started her business back in 2013, and she even studied global business in Munich, Germany. Okay, I have to admit, I'm a little bit jealous, just a tad. Michelle, you're gonna have to tell me how you really enjoyed spending your time in Germany, okay?
I will.
Later. But since then, she has continued to grow and learn as an entrepreneur, from starting one business and transitioning into another industry with ease. That's very important. Wow. And she is the go-to expert if you are stuck in a rut on how to brand yourself, how your brand should look, how it should feel. And when she is not embracing her entrepreneurship, she loves to travel. She's planning her next big travel, and she also dabbles in photography. Wow. Excellent. So Michelle, tell us what you do in 10 words or less, in your own words.
Oh, 10 words or less. I don't know, 10 words. I would say that I really help my clients break in and tap into their creative channel. So really like gain clarity in their messaging and who they serve in the world.
Okay, great.
I hope that's 10.
I wasn't counting. I don't hold it against you. Okay, and what were some of the biggest lessons that impacted the way you do your business now?
Really sharing my story in a way that feels good to me. And I know formerly I was formerly a health and fitness coach, and I was part of a network marketing company. And going through like different, trainings and stuff with the companies, it's kind of like a cookie cutter method. And it didn't really ever feel good to me. I felt like I was forcing content and, forcing relationships that just didn't feel good to me. But I thought maybe like, I wanted to help everybody. Essentially, that's what I wanted to do, is help everybody. That's what we all want to do, right? But what I realized was not everybody was for me. And so really just kind of sharing my authentic stories and the kind of the real deal and connecting with people who understood me would be my biggest thing that I've learned, I guess.
Okay.
Is to just share that in a way that allows other people to connect with me and not with what I was trained to be, in a sense.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I know exactly how you feel, because you want to create a business that represents you and you authentically, mm-hmm. and not always someone else's formula or formulated plan for yourself. Okay, great. Yeah. So what mindsets have helped you to become successful?
So, well, as far as like mindset work, there's a bunch of things that I do. I'm kind of like a mindset kind of self-help junkie. So, one thing, I would definitely say the resilient mindset. I've come from like a long list of failing at what seemed to be everything. So it's like I felt like a forever student, and I was, taking the same course over and over. Like I took, for instance, college algebra, like basic algebra 4 times before I passed it. And it was that simple, like, I mean, after a couple times, like normal people would be like, forget this, I'm done, I give up, I'm dropping out. Like I'm no longer doing this. Like it wasn't meant to serve me. But it was that resilience that I know in my soul that I'm meant for something more. I know that I can achieve this. I just have to keep doing it. And so I had read a book, and I think it's called Go for No, but it's like the more times you hear no, the closer you are to a yes. So I just kind of like implemented that. It's as long as I'm leading with my heart and whatever I'm doing, it doesn't matter how many times I fail because I'm closer to a success. So that's really my mindset is I've embraced failure, and I turn it into, if I fail one more time, I'm closer to that success.
Right. Because a lot of people don't realize the behind the scenes as a business owner, that we may fail quite a bit. And it may take us years to get to a level. And we see other entrepreneurs who are making 6 figures, 7 figures, but it took them a while. And we don't know what they failed at behind the scenes or what mistakes they made behind the scenes. So the key is to keep going and to be tenacious. And like you said, that keyword resilience. So yes, keep that in mind, people. Keep that in mind. Let's be resilient and tenacious. Okay, so Michelle, how would you distinguish yourself from your competitors? Because there are a lot of brand strategists out there, or content creation strategists.
There are. Yeah. There's a coach, there's a strategist, there's a consultant for everything. And so many people I find are like hesitant to call themselves that because the market is so saturated. Yes. But what gets you to stand out is your personal brand. So to distinguish, it would be my stories, my brand stories. So just my personal experiences, and your experiences make you an expert and relatable. So really just sharing my story and my messaging for working with people who are like me. Spiritual based entrepreneurs is who I work with. So I can work with my clients, I could offer a clarity call with, somebody, and it would be the same kind of call that, 50 other coaches are offering, but I might pull out my tarot deck in the middle of that, and, maybe even dig a little bit deeper and connect on a little more soul level. So yeah, that's how I stand out, is just my unique story.
Exactly. Great. Thank you for sharing that. Because like you said, there's so many coaches, strategists, consultants out there, but it's something that we may share about ourselves personally that will connect or resonate with someone who is watching or reading our content or watching our videos, and they say, wow, that is the person that I need to talk to. That's the person. So don't ever get discouraged because there are a lot of people out there. Don't be afraid to even show yourself and share your vulnerability with people, because that is when you're really truly authentic, is how you connect with your audience. So true. So true. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, what has been your biggest mistake that you've made, the one that you want to share, and what have you learned from it?
So I'll be like totally raw with what my mistakes were. I actually had a very hard time balancing the front and back end of my business. So I spent so much time on building my website and creating like my courses or my digital products, and working on my visual brand, and instead I suffered with showing up and actually building the relationships. So I would say finding that that balance, if and sometimes it's just as simple as scheduling it into your work schedule. So, for the best, I always recommend like creating a schedule to my clients. And I know it sounds so simplistic, but are we actually doing it? Or are we just saying, okay, well, I have about an hour or so, but then, that hour or so you're scrolling through Facebook mindlessly, not, using it for money-making activities. And so your productivity is low. So I would schedule in the front end of my business. So I was specifically productive in my front end of my business, and then specifically productive in the back end of my business. And that was just what I had to do, because otherwise I was lost. And, that time frame, for 45 minutes ended up being 2 hours of nothing. So, the biggest mistake I had was not creating relationships from the beginning and starting the back end of my business first.
Right. It's so important to be present and visible. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't understand that, especially they think that you have to create your website, and websites are important, don't get me wrong, and logos and business cards and all of that. And I always say, show up, be present, be visible, make yourself known to your target audience. And of course, if you go to a networking event, yes, you want business cards there to hand to someone. But at the end of the day, what's so important is the connection, the conversation with people, and not always the website. So that's important, but get out there and be visible.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So tell me, what is the biggest piece of advice that you've ever received?
Oh, that's good. That's a really good question. I've received a lot of advice. I can't particularly pin down a piece of advice that I received from somebody, but I could give you a piece of advice that I've read and that I've been implementing that has changed the way that I see things. And it's from a book called The Untethered Soul. And it's it's noticing all of the things that are happening around of us, all of the stress, all of our day-to-day things that we think are happening to us. And really taking it into a fact of that it's happening to the earth, to around us, okay? And that it's actually an energy, so we can't allow it to get stuck within us. So we want it to flow through us. So I really take this advice into my business, and the feeling of overwhelm and the feeling of finances and the feeling of putting myself out there and being vulnerable. And so I take it as allowing the energy to feel it, but not be stuck, and to just move through me so I can show up in a way that feels good, where I'm not showing up stressed, because stress is just an energy, and you feel stressed because it's blocked in you. So just allowing it to move. So that, I guess, would be my biggest piece of advice that I've received, is just how to interpret feelings as energy and just allowing them to go through. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So now, are there any tips or gold nuggets, I like to call them, gold nuggets of wisdom, that you have for people who are interested in doing what you do?
Okay. So yeah, the golden nugget for sure is to be resilient. I feel like that should be like my brand message, like resilience. But as far as, starting out, would you want advice from starting out, or
just what you're doing now?
Yeah. So what I'm doing now, I would say define what it is that you want to do, and really take a step back and to think about who it is that you want to serve. And I do a lot of like meditative work around this to really connect. I call it like the mindset of my ideal client. You might hear like dream clients or something like that, but I really say like stepping into the mindset of your ideal client. So to break down exactly what you want to do and who you serve, I think is going to be your key piece, because once you tap into who it is that you're serving and what you're going to do for them, really allows you to create content. So essentially at the end of the day, you attract these people, right? So when you tap into who that person is, you can fully operate at their level. And so you know exactly what to put out there.
Okay.
Does that answer, like, just knowing who you are and who you serve? And
Right.
I think sometimes that we overcomplicate that, and it's really just that simple.
True. You need clarity on that to begin with in any business. Okay, so if you had to do this venture all over again,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything that you would do differently?
You'll like this one. I would have started on live video sooner. I would have put myself out there and shared the real deal sooner. I would have shared that that entrepreneurship is not easy sooner, instead of like one thing, for instance, and I'll give you an example. When I was offering, for people to join my team and to join my business and to start their own business, we're guilty of saying, oh, here's this freedom, come get it.
Yeah.
And it's easy as showing up and saying blah blah blah, sharing your story. It's really not that simple. And it's not for everybody. And I think I would have changed my messaging around entrepreneurship sooner, going live sooner, and really connecting with people on a soul level sooner.
Okay. Very good.
Thank
you for sharing.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing that with us. So now we are actually going to get into the nitty gritty, and Michelle is going to share with us today 5 tips on how to create your personal brand. So I've got my notebook ready.
Okay. So I like this. So, a lot of times, you hear brand, personal brand, what's a brand, blah, 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 blah. And we think that it's a logo or our website or our visuals. And really, essentially, it is our story, our personal brand. So what makes us show up? So, tip 1 is to get really clear on your brand message. So what caused you to start your venture? How did you get to where you are? And how can you present that in a way that shares your story and turn it into kind of like a lesson? Like, for instance, my failures, that's part of my brand. Resilience. I've taken all of those things and I've created an emotion from it. So I would say a personal brand message for one, because that's more important. And then creating your client, and getting very, very clear on who it is. I mean, down to what kind of computer they use. Okay. Because when you're creating, a how-to video, you might want to say, now, if you're using a Mac, blah, 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 this is how you're going to go through this. So don't be afraid to limit who your ideal client is, and breaking that down to a smaller niche is sometimes scary, because you think like, oh, well, if I narrow my niche down, like, then I'll have nobody. But really, that's where you get all of the people who are like you. Mm-hmm. So step one, developing your personal story message. Step 2, really getting clear on who your ideal client is, and knowing their income, what their goals are, what their struggles are, because people buy for one of 2 reasons. 1, to get further away from pain, and 2, to get closer to pleasure. So if you know what keeps them up at night, the up at night factor, then you know what you can provide to your client, and a way to have a solution for them. So that's step one, clear messaging. Step two, your client. And step three, I would say, for developing after that, like once you have that down, it would be developing your actual visual brand. So that's where that comes into play for me. So, a lot of people, they want to take like, oh, this is my favorite color, so this is what I'm going to use. Well, if your favorite color is red and you have a girly girl personality and, your personal brand images are like you popping champagne bottles, red is kind of like a bold color, bold, confident. It's not very girly girl. So I would not lead with like your favorite colors or images. I would lead with how you want them to feel. So taking that message and that you're putting out, connecting it with who you're trying to attract and how you want them to feel. So number 3 would be your visual brand in feeling. How do you want them to feel when they look at you? And this is like your fonts, your filters that you use, your graphics that you're posting on social media. And then 4, I would say, creating content around that. So, how would you do that? Well, knowing that I would start with 3 pain points and then have 3 solutions, but always give a call to action. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And 5, just get yourself out there and start sharing it and connecting with people.
I like what you said for tip 4, and we're going to recap. Mm-hmm. In tip 4, Michelle just mentioned creating your content around the first 3 steps. So step 1, you said get clear on your message.
Yes.
Step 2 is creating that ideal client, or you may hear some people say the ideal client avatar. Mm-hmm. And don't be afraid to get too specific with it. Because the wider or the bigger your niche is, you can't please everybody. You are not this one person show where you can please every single person. And I think that's important too, because I recognize immediately when my ideal client is on a call with me. I'm like, oh, this is perfect, because this is who I envisioned for my business. So again, getting clear on your message, creating that ideal client avatar. And then you said step 3 was developing your visual brand. Mm-hmm. And how you want people to feel when they look at you. It's not about you. Again, that's why I tell people with video, it's not about you when you get in front of the camera. It is about your ideal clients. Great. And then step 4, Michelle, you just mentioned something so powerful. When you're creating this, you're creating 3 pain points that your ideal clients have, but give them those 3 solutions. Don't keep it to yourself. Give them those 3 solutions, but give them a call to action with those 3 solutions. And then step 5, what was step 5? Just
showing up in front of them consistently,
Right.
And I'd like to go back to creating that content. Step 4 is, when you have this is what's going to set you apart. I believe, because when you hit those pain points of your ideal client, you're offering them a solution. Well, they could go find a solution anywhere. You could just Google the solution to blah, 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 and they can have that. But what you're providing them is a specific call to action. So you're telling them exactly what to do. And I know, and it might sound bossy as I'm saying it, and I say this as an example, and I refer it to email marketing. When you're sending out an email to your clients, you have to include 3 or more links on your email. And it's just because we're prone to click. We're prone to know, like, we have to know what the next thing is that we're going to be doing. And so if you provide a link, then they're going to click it, right? Because we have to do something. But if you don't, they're going to click unsubscribe. And that's the same thing as creating content. You have to show up, give them value, but tell them what to do, because we're prone to want more. We need to know the next step. So lead them to do something in your content. And it's a simple, okay, I'm offering, a 5-day clean eating challenge, or, whatever. Well, at the end of the 5 days, tell them what to do with all of this. Okay, you've provided them, you've given them, the solutions, but what next? And that's what's going to keep you engaged and keep you building that relationship with your ideal clients, is always that next step for them. So that's why I make it really clear, like any content that you're creating, create a call to action. And then 5, consistency.
Okay, excellent. All right, thank you, Michelle. Thank you for those tips. So just to recap again on the 5 tips that Michelle said was, first, getting clear on your message. Step 2 is creating that ideal client avatar. Get specific as you can. Step 3 is developing your visual brand. And the juicy number 4, I love it. I absolutely loved it, is to give them those 3 pain points, give them those 3 solutions, and give them a call to action that they need to take when you're giving them the pain and the solution to their pain. Very good. And then step 5 is showing up and being visible, which I am all about being visible. So now we're going to end our interview with some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. What's your biggest fear?
Spiders.
What is your favorite word?
Oh, my favorite word? Legit.
Legit.
I'm always like,
I'm about to do the MC Hammer to legit to quit.
I say that word all the time. I'm like, too legit to quit.
I love it. I love it. And what was the last book you read?
The 5-second rule I'm reading right now. And then the one before that was The Untethered Soul. Okay.
And what's your favorite color?
Blue and green.
Blue and green.
Aqua.
I know I can't decide between those 2 either. And last but not least, Michelle, what is the best way for people to contact you?
So the best way would probably be to visit my website, because I have all of, whatever is convenient for you to contact me, I have available on my homepage. So my website is justmichellearnold.com. And it's like legit, justmichellearnold.com.
I love it. I love it. Justmichellearnold.com. Thank you again, Michelle, for joining us today on Work It, Live It, Own It TV. Again, my name is SaCola Lehr, video launch strategist, helping all my entrepreneurs who are introverted and camera shy in the health and wellness industry rock it with video. We're signing out for today. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you.